What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the news affecting the markets, what you should be watching for as time progresses, and also how the charts are looking going into open for today, in my opinion. But before I break into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, for Tesla, if you look at the share price right here, we have a potential inverse head and shoulders like structure, something very similar to that. And it does look like Tesla's attempting to reverse right here. We have to see Tesla in the market hold particular levels in order for this to pan out. So I'll be breaking down more details about this in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about the market, the news, and all that very, very quickly before I break down the charts. So when it comes to the market right now, as soon as the market opens, we have a Fed speaker. We have Goolsbee giving a speech from the Fed at 9:30 excuse me, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then besides that, we have the 17-week bill auction at 11:30 a.m. And then we have Bart giving a speech at 4. So all the data is very minor. There's not anything too crazy coming out for today. Just a bunch of Fed speakers, not to mention the 17-week bill auction at 11:30. But then don't forget that for Thursday, on Thursday, we have initial jobless claims, not to mention we have some manufacturing numbers coming out in the morning. So there's more data coming out tomorrow than today, but I just want to give you guys that warning. Otherwise, for today, very, very quiet day on the data side, just a couple of Fed speakers and the bill auction. A couple of things to know about the market. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 had their biggest drop since March of 2023. We saw the market slide quite a bit. That's after we got the hot inflationary data. But when the market drops so hard, so fast, generally you want to be looking for a rebound, and that's what's trying to happen right now in the markets. Could the rebound last for a long time, or is it going to be a temporary one? We'll have to wait and see. But there is a very, very good chance the market will attempt to come back. There's a saying that goes, inflation is sticking around like a bad ex. I think there's a lot of truth behind that because inflation is, if anything, very, very sticky. It's very sticky. It's very, very hard to get rid of it just like that when you have high levels of inflation. And that's exactly what the Fed was worried about. You could see that core CPI getting a little increase is still not necessarily done with just yet. And that's why the Fed has to be very cautious right now. On top of this, Paramount Global is laying off hundreds of employees, according to their CEO. That's despite the fact that they had one of the highest viewed Super Bowls ever. But despite that, excuse me, guys, I apologize. Despite that, they're going to continue to do what's necessary for their company. And finally, Lyft had a big error after the bell on Tuesday. Its finance chief acknowledged on an earnings call that the rideshare company initially misstated its margin expansion. They said it was a 500 basis points expansion of 5% growth for 2024. Then they clarified it should be 50 basis points and 0.5% instead. There's a little bit of a difference. Besides that, let's go over some earnings. We had Barrick and CME Group and then Sony for today. Later on, all the earnings are going to be very minor, but then for Thursday, we have Coinbase, Roku, and just a few others. Barrick had Q4 earnings, which were quite decent. Revenues expected to rise, and they also announced a $1 billion buyback. Sony had good earnings, but their forecast did include some cuts. However, it wasn't really enough to offset the fact that it posted record revenue. That's why the share price is still holding up nicely. So their revenue was good. Their guidance and everything was a little kind of mixed. I'd say earnings were mixed for Sony, but for the most part, we did get some good data, at least for the current earnings. But now they're telling us, and this is what's not as good, that the sales for the PlayStation 5 or the PS5 are going to be basically cut a little bit for the forecast. They used to say 25 million sales were forecasted for the fiscal year. Now they're saying it's likely going to be about 21 million. They also said that despite the fact that they had record revenue, and they also mentioned that in the gaming division, there could be some cuts coming. The cuts in outlook when it comes to quarterly revenue as well. And besides that, that's not the best of news. But besides that, you can see right over here, with them trying to maintain this momentum, we'll see how well they could do with the next earnings report. With these little cuts right here, the sales forecast is still it's still decent overall, I would say. So mixed earnings, they had strong earnings, but they did cut on guidance a little bit. Not too horrible, not too great. There is some news coming out that the union workers, especially in Sweden, are allowing temporary Tesla repairs as the strikes continue. There's still strikes that are going on right now in Sweden, but they're starting to become a little bit more lenient, and they're allowing for Tesla repairs to continue. So this is some big news, because with that going on, it's giving Tesla a little bit more of an edge. We're hoping that eventually they will come into agreement with some terms for Tesla. I don't think that Sweden is a massive market for Tesla, and it's not going to affect them as much. But if they keep on blocking ports and this spreads throughout Europe, it could become a little bit more impactful. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for now in terms of news and stuff. So, with that being said, let's talk about the charts. Tesla has this nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. There is a good chance it's going to try to bounce, but here's how I see this. The question is, will it come down to fill this gap in 184 and then bounce, or will it just keep pushing? There's a possibility it comes down to fill this gap, kind of consolidates for a bit, but then it tries to push up later on during the day to 188. So watch resistance at 186, 188, and then 190. Watch support at 184. If we lose that, 182 is coming. My guts is telling me there are two possibilities. Tesla could retrace a bit to 184, kind of consolidate for a bit in this range and eventually try to break out. Or it could just break out from here and eventually push up to 188 and then try to push up with the market. So we have this gap to fill clearly in the 188 area. There's a good chance Tesla will fill the gap and rebound. But watch and see if we come down to fill the gap first before we do that, or if we just push from here to that 188 area. Tesla looks to me like it's trying to reverse. So there's a very, very good chance it does end up achieving that. And as you can see in the chart, for other tickers, we all have a very similar looking setups. So going to be hoping to see if Tesla can get that rebound. Also watch the 30 minutes 50 EMA as resistance. That's kind of stopping Tesla. Will we come down and then bounce and eventually break it, or will we just break it from here? That we'll just have to wait and see. As far as SPY goes, SPY, in my opinion, is looking kind of bullish as well. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure on SPY, but we're going to be watching to see if we lose 496. If we do lose it, I'll be watching 494. We have this like gap down here to be watching for and to see if we bounce. Listen to me carefully. As long as SPY is above 494, it has potential to rebound. If we lose 494, there's going to be a risk of it coming down to 492. So that's our critical support, 494. And if we could hold above 496, it has even more bullish potential to rebound. Now, here's what I'm going to be watching for. Do we lose 496 temporarily and come down to 494, consolidate a bit, and then bounce and start breaking out again to 498, then 500? Or do we hold 496 from this point on? We just start pushing from here. It's got to be one of those two. Either it comes down to this level and bounces, or it just bounces from here and starts pushing up for 500. It's got to be one of those two, but there's a very good chance SPY is going to try to get back to 500 over the next couple of days. The charts does look bullish. It is still favoring the bulls for a nice reversal, so watch for that on SPY. Same thing on the QQQ. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. We have this gap down here at 429. So watch 427 very carefully, as well as support and 429 and 430. If we lose 429, watch 427. If we lose that, we could turn a bit more bearish to 425 and 423.8. If we're bullish, we want to see it break 432 and start pushing up higher. What do I see for this? It could retrace to fill this gap, technically speaking. Come back down to 429, maybe a little bit lower, but then as long as we hold above 427, we're going to be fine. If it does retrace, watch and see if we bounce off 429 and start rebounding and start pushing to these higher levels. But if we hold in this range, as long as we hold 429, we have the potential to try to rebound, break 432, and start pushing for 435 or so for a nice little rebound. So watch and see, do we drop and then bounce, or do we just push up from here? I think there's a very good chance that the QQQ will push for the 435 area. I may take a day or so. We might retrace first and then bounce, or just kind of like bounce from here. So we'll be watching to see how it goes. As far as Nvda goes, I think that Nvda is, in my opinion, looking bullish as well. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders. We have a left shoulder here. We have a head down here. We have a right shoulder. In my opinion, with this bullish wedge that is developing on it, if we break 734, that's where this resistance happens to be, I think it could push for 740 because we have this imbalance to fill, and we also have 745 coming. There is a gap down here at 725, and as long as we hold above 720, I think we're going to be fine. So watch those supports. If we lose 720, we turn bearish. If we hold up, we're going to be fine. I either see that it comes down to fill this gap at 725, consolidates for a bit, and then starts pushing up higher for 740, or it might just push from here and try to break this high and break to a new all-time high, get close to about 750, and eventually higher levels like that. So I'll be watching to see if we could get some kind of breakout and how high this thing could go. My gut is telling me it's going to go higher. It's going to eventually go higher. I think that either it retraces a little bit and then goes higher and bounces, or it just pushes up from here. So I do see some potential upside. We'll see how that goes. As far as Apple goes, Apple has two possibilities. Apple's looking a little bit weaker than like Nvidia and the other tickers out there. We'll be watching to see how well it holds 185. If we lose that, we'll be watching 184.25 and see if it bounces there. If not, it could try to break out as well. So for Apple, look for two possibilities. If we lose 185, watch 184.25. And if we try to rebound, watch 185.5. If that breaks, then there's 186.5 coming next. So I think Apple actually is looking at not the strongest. It might test 185 flat. It could even lose that, but I think it's going to consolidate in this range for the time being before it attempts to reverse. I don't think Apple's looking as strong. It might consolidate a little bit at first before it tries to get a rebound and tries to get back to the higher 185s. I think it will reverse soon, but I think that it's not looking as strong as other tickers out there. I just want to make that clear. So that being said, thank you for listening, guys. We'll see how it goes for the markets. As far as Tesla goes, I'm not seeing too much new news that has come out, and overall, I still think Tesla has potential for a rebound. But watch and see if we get this little retracement first before it attempts to do so. And as long as we hold 184, Tesla's going to be fine. So don't forget about that. We'll see if Tesla comes down to fill this gap and then bounces, or if it just pushes from here. And like I said before, 184 is going to be our key level. I want to see it try to hold above that. If not, things could go south, but I just hope for the best for Tesla. I do think it's going to try to reverse soon. Make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. All right, anyways, have a great day, guys. Take care. I'll see you guys very soon, just a couple of hours for more updates. Have a great day and peace out.